Something I really love doing is creating my own brushes to help create my own patterns. To do that, I'm going to go to File, New, and make a new canvas. It can be any size you want. And I'm going to come over here and create a new layer. This is so I can draw my brush pattern. Something I would like to do is to turn on symmetry, which is this button right here in the newer versions of Photoshop. I'm going to turn vertical on, and I'm going to hit enter to set it in place. Now, whatever I draw will happen on one side and on the other. You can make whatever design you want. I'm going to attempt to make a semi-decent lace pattern. You can refine this as much as you like. I'm not going to go too crazy. Now I'm going to turn off my symmetry. Now what I want to do is I want to select around the pattern. This is going to tell Photoshop this is the area I want to capture to make my brush. So now to turn it into a brush, we're going to go up here to Edit and Define Brush Preset. There's your brush in the scene, and now you can name it whatever you want. I'm going to call it Lace and hit OK. Now you can see our brushes right here, and you can stamp it around. Now you can also stroke with it, but maybe you want spaces in between this stroke. You don't want it to be a solid line. I'm going to open up my brush settings, and I'm going to come here and space it out. Now when I draw, it's going to evenly space them apart. Maybe you want to make your pattern flow in a cohesive line where they're still attached and bending to the curve. To do this, you go to Shape Dynamics and you go to Control and Direction. Now you can see that your pattern is going to the flow of the curve. I'm going to space it out a little bit more. It'll take some playing with. Now no matter what angle I draw it in, it's going to follow the line. Now if you want to save it out and make sure that it's a brush forever in your Photoshop, all you have to do is come over here and hit New Brush Preset. Call it whatever you want. And done! And that's how you create your own Photoshop brushes for your patterns. One type of pattern I like to make is a polka dot pattern. This is probably one of the easiest and most simple patterns that I know how to make. So to do so, all you need is the brush tool, the color of the polka dot you want, mine's set to white, and your texture. So this is my base, and I have this split up into two different canvases. This is the base of the top, and this is the sleeves. I'm going to come back over to the base, and now I'm going to start making my pattern. I'm going to come down here to the layer and create a new layer. Use F5 on your keyboard to bring up the brush settings tab. You can also pick it here, and if you don't know where it is, it can be found here in the Windows section. Now with my brush settings turned on, I'm going to go to Brush Tip Shape, and I'm going to play with the spacing. You can make this space out as far and as close as you'd like, and you can also scale the size of the brush. The size of this texture is quite small. Like this would be the front of the top, and I think this would be the back, and these are the ruffles to my outfit on the top and bottom. So I think I would want my polka dots to be a little bit smaller in scale, and I might want to make my polka dots closer together so you can see more of the dots and they're not so large. So with my keyboard, I'm going to click out here and hold Shift on my keyboard. I'm just going to click and drag, and it's going to create a straight line of polka dots. You can take this and duplicate it and then drag it down to create a replica of the pattern. If you want, you can adjust it and off-center it. Use your arrow keys on your keyboard to move it. And then all you have to do is select these two. I'm going to right-click, merge layers, and then I'm going to take this and duplicate it again. So now both these layers are being duplicated in one, and I can repeat the pattern easily. I'm going to repeat this process to make sure I can fill the entire canvas. Merge layers, duplicate, drag. So now we have our polka dot pattern covering the entire canvas. I want to save this out and see what it looks like. I have a feeling these are still too large, but we'll see what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and I'm going to save this as a JPEG. Polka.top. And hit enter. To scale down my pattern, I'm going to come over here to this layer, and I'm going to hit Control-T on my keyboard while that layer is selected. This is going to bring up the transform tool. With the transform tool, you can scale and shrink your pattern to whatever size you like. I'm just going to scale it a little bit and move it into a position I want. So I'm going to duplicate this just like we did before, and this time I'm going to hit Control-T on my keyboard to bring up that transform tool again with this new layer selected. And I'm going to right click and flip horizontal. The reason why I'm doing this is because earlier on this side of the pattern, my circles were not completely circles. They had this slight little deformation here. So I want to make sure that doesn't appear in my pattern when I flip it over. I'm just going to align this over top of the other pattern, because if I don't, it won't be seamless. It'll look like this. So I'm just going to make it lay right on top. I think that looks good. So now I'm going to try and save it out again. I'm going to save over the one that we made previously and hit OK. You can now merge these two together, and it'll be on all one layer. And now you can grab your select lasso tool. I'm going to pick the square, and I'm going to select the entire scene. Now I'm going to copy this and paste it into the other canvas. So I'm going to hit Control-C, and I'm going to come over here into my other canvas, and I'm going to hit Control-V. And it automatically pastes it in. Now I'm going to save this out by hitting Control-Alt-S. Save it as a JPEG, and since this is a different texture, we're going to call this one Sleeves, to make sure I don't use the wrong texture in the wrong area. Let's try and apply this to our sleeves and see what it looks like. So maybe you're in a situation where you found a free stock image, or you bought a pattern and you would like to apply it to your texture or your top. So what I'm going to do is use a file that I bought. I have a confetti graphic. It may not be the most obvious kind of pattern, but it's what I have on hand. I'm going to click and drag this out. I think it could make for a possibly very cute pattern. Currently, the transform tool is on, so with this still turned on, I want to scale up my pattern. So you can select any one of the corners and scale or maximize it to any kind of size you want. I'm going to make mine quite big because I want my pattern to be large on the top. And I'm going to move it around to a spot I like, and once I'm done, I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard. Now I have my pattern in the scene. In this case, my pattern came with a transparent background already made. Sometimes you'll have to then rasterize the layer by right-clicking and hit rasterize so you can edit it. And then from here, you can go into the layers and play with the different effects that it might have on your t-shirt. In my situation, I think that the normal layer was best, so I'm going to save this out. I'm going to go File, Save As, and save it as a JPEG. I'm going to call this Star Top and hit save.